The Audi Q7 has long been one of our favourite family SUVs, with its impressive quality, spacious 7-seat cabin and relaxed on-road character. And of course, the thing to do has traditionally been to spec it with a gutsy and economical diesel engine.
But this version of the Q7 has been around since 2015, and the world is a very different place now, not least buyers' changed attitudes towards diesel. So while we knew it was great when it was released, is it still worth your money? And how does it compare to a brand spanking new, fresh out of the box luxury SUV? And with this kind of car, does diesel even still make sense?
To find out, we've brought along the Q7 50 TDI S-Line with its 286 horsepower 3-litre diesel engine. Before you add any options, this car has an on-the-road price of just under £68,000.
And today, the Audi's going to go up against this, the brand new Range Rover Sport. Now, you'd expect the Range to be a lot more expensive, but it comes in at just over £80,000 for a similarly powered D300 diesel, which is about £12,000 more than the Audi. But diesel's old hat these days, right? Maybe.
So to see if that's the case, the Range Rover Sport we've brought along happens to be the range-topping P530 petrol model with its stonking new twin-turbo 4.4-litre V8. Why? Because, well, why not?
And actually, apart from the engine, the Range Rover Sport is a really good car to compare with the Audi. There is one difference though. The Range Rover does not come with 7 seats like the Audi does. If you want a Range Rover with 7 seats, you'll need to go for the full-size Range Rover, or if you can forego the Range Rover badge, you can get a Land Rover Discovery or a Land Rover Defender 110.
With seats 6 and 7 in place, the Q7 doesn't offer all that much room for luggage, but it's still more generous than a Land Rover Discovery. Fold those third-row seats down and you get 740 litres of room, which is rather more than you'd find in most large estate cars, and beats the Range Rover Sport's 647 litres with ease. Fold the middle row down and there's 1,925 litres of antique wardrobe lugging space, while the best you'll get with the Range Rover is 1,491 litres. So really only room for a chest of drawers.
Space in the third row of the Audi is fairly generous, certainly for someone like me who is 5'4.5". If you've got tall, gangly teenagers, then you might find a Land Rover Discovery has more space. Moving into the second row, I can do that a little more easily by pressing this, and the seat will lift up. And now, without stepping on the seat, I'm in. And there are 3 seats side by side here, so you can fit 3 adults side by side. There's also 3 sets of Isofix if you need 3 child seats. And each seat will recline and move back and forwards.
The seats themselves, meanwhile, are reasonably comfortable, if a little utilitarian in look and feel.
Utilitarian is not a word that you would use to describe the seats in the back of the Range Rover Sport. It is very comfortable and luxurious, and the seats are squidgy and really rather lovely back here. You also get 4-zone climate control, which you would need to go above S-Line in the Audi. It is worth noting though that you get 2 sets of Isofix here in the outermost seats as opposed to the 3 in the Audi.
The more rakish roofline and lower height compared with a full-size Range Rover does make it a little more cosy back here, but there's still plenty of space. The way the seating is set up does mean it suits 1 or 2 passengers rather than 3, however.
The driver's seat is probably where the Range Rover justifies that high price tag. Now, Range Rovers don't have the best reputation for reliability, but when it comes to a premium feel, there's very little to beat it, and it is properly luxurious in here. I am surrounded by high quality materials, gorgeous leather and fabric trim inserts.
We're a little bit less impressed by all the piano black plastic, but then as we'll see in a bit, the Q7 isn't exactly innocent on that front either.
The seats themselves are very adjustable and very comfortable. The annoying thing is though, it takes a while to find the perfect driving position because the seat adjustments are in 2 different places. We've got the adjustments here and also on the screen, so it will take you a while. Once you get there though, it is very, very comfortable.
There's also a minimalist approach to cabin equipment that helps the Range Rover Sport from feeling cluttered, and the way the climate controls also serve as seating controls is a very neat touch.
There's a colour heads-up display and a digital instrument cluster, but the real star of the show is the central infotainment system. It's easy to use, responsive, and you can have 3 different functions on the home screen.
It also comes with wireless Apple CarPlay and, more unusually, wireless Android Auto. All in all, it's a very impressive system and is key to helping the Range Rover feel more modern inside than the Audi.
Jump into the Audi after spending some time in the Range Rover and it does feel like a bit of a step down. It's still very classy and beautifully put together. It's just not quite as luxurious. And the piano black fairy has been even busier in here.
It is, however, easier to find a comfy seating position in the Audi, mainly thanks to a simpler and better placed electric adjustment mechanism.
Now, when the Q7 was facelifted in 2020, it got an updated interior design, including a refreshed climate control touchscreen system. Now, usually we don't like touchscreen climate controls, but this is a separate screen to the main touchscreen, and also it has haptic feedback, which means it feels like you're pressing a real button, which really helps with its usability.
That haptic feedback helps make using the main touchscreen easier too, and although we do miss the old MMI rotary controller, the Audi's tile-based system is easy enough to get your head round. And of course, the Audi features wireless Apple CarPlay and wired Android Auto, but you do lose the haptic functionality when you switch over to these systems. On the road, the Q7 is a tiny bit forgettable, and that is praise, not criticism. It feels quite car-like in its driving position. You could almost be in an Audi A6 Avant, for example, and the small wheels fitted to this test car makes the ride very composed. And the 8-speed automatic gearbox really makes the most out of the V6 diesel's low-end muscle. The handling is fairly car-like too, feeling stable, delivering plenty of cornering grip and avoiding the side-to-side shimmying you get in some large SUVs that are set up to be more sporty feeling. It certainly feels a lot smaller than it is to drive, although if you find yourself threading your way down a winding country lane, you are soon reminded of its size when you meet a van coming the other way. With 286 horsepower, the big twin-turbo 3-litre V6 diesel has plenty of go, with 0 to 60 coming in at 6.1 seconds and a top speed of 150 miles per hour. You can tell this is a powertrain that's been around for a while though. The diesel engine sounds a bit gruff at idle, and the gearbox is a little bit slow to respond at lower speed. So for example, pulling out of a junction, you can end up going into slightly higher revs than you might expect or want to. Since 2020, Audi Q7 diesels have had mild hybrid tech, which does help fuel economy a tad. So you're looking at official fuel consumption of just under 35 miles per gallon, which isn't all that bad considering this is such a large, heavy car. In fact, with the optional extended fuel tank giving this car a 10-litre boost to 85 litres, you should be able to go to 600 miles plus between fill-ups.
Of course, with a BMW-sourced twin-turbo V8, the range-topping Range Rover Sport is going to be a little thirsty compared with the Audi. The official fuel economy is 24.5 miles per gallon, and while it's been with us, we've managed to squeeze out less than 20 miles per gallon.
However, the diesel-powered mild hybrid D300 version of the Range Rover Sport, which is the one you'd be considering alongside the Audi, is more economical than the Q7, with an official fuel economy figure of 37.4 miles per gallon.
The 3-litre straight six is also more powerful than the Audi, with 300 horsepower, although in the real world there's not much difference between the two, and actually the official figures suggest this as well, because the Range Rover D300 is slightly slower to 60. It takes 6.4 seconds.
Now, we've not tried this straight six diesel in the Range Rover Sport, but we have tried it in the closely related Land Rover Discovery, and we like it. It feels more responsive than the Audi's V6 for a start and is less gruff at idle.
It and the Audi's V6 prove that big diesels are still one of the best types of power plants for vehicles of this size, especially if you might want to use your SUV for towing. They offer the best balance between low rev pulling power and fuel economy.
The new 530 horsepower V8 in this car is hilarious though. Considering this is a 2.5 ton car, the way it lunges down the road when you accelerate is quite extraordinary, and it sounds pretty good too. It's not quite as powerful as the old 575 horsepower supercharged SVR, but it does feel every bit as quick, and 0 to 60 is dealt with in just 4.3 seconds. For those who can't or won't stretch to the £115,000 required to buy the V8, you can still enjoy the same experience of ride and handling in the more humble powered diesels. And that is a surprisingly smooth ride and an impressive amount of grip, especially with a car that is so big and has such big wheels. The steering is perhaps a touch too darty for such a large car though, which can mean you inadvertently throw passengers around a little. The high bonnet and chunky A-pillars also restrict forward visibility a bit.
Look, forget the engine that's in this particular car. That V8, it sounds wonderful, and it is wonderful. The problem is it just doesn't make sense on UK roads with our fuel prices. However, a diesel power plant that's more appealing and more efficient than the Audi makes the Range Rover Sport a rather compelling package.
It's great to drive, looks and feels more luxurious than the Audi, and Jaguar Land Rover has done simply brilliant work with the infotainment system.
Whether it's £12,000 more compelling is another matter. The Audi is a very likeable car, and it feels younger in its design than it actually is. And it's got 7 seats, so if you need that extra room, then this is no contest at all.
But what do you think? Has the Q7 still got it, or does the Range Rover Sport have it licked? Let us know in the comments below, and if you're considering buying an Audi Q7, Range Rover Sport, or indeed any SUV, head to cargurus.co.uk to find loads of great cars for sale from top-rated dealers. And with our super clever pricing technology, we'll even tell you whether it's a good deal or not.